your physical need met, talk about shelter, talk about clothing. You want to have your emotional needs met in terms of, oh yes, you want to be loved, you want to achieve this and that. And before you now get to the point to say, okay, fine, I think I'm self-actualized, I'm fulfilled as an individual. I have a place of my own to live, I have cash to get what I want, I'm loved by someone, I'm loving someone, and yes, I'm fulfilled as an individual. So based on that scenario too, the same thing also applies to the hierarchy of needs. Now, why this hierarchy of needs actually came up is as a result of the noise around data science that was very hot in the last 10 years. Because yes, every organization knew, people knew that, yeah, and that was where was every one of us, I'm sure, at any point in time, majority of us on this call read that Harvard article that says data science is the sexiest job in the 21st century. And I'm sure probably someone like me, that was one of the things that triggered me. I'm like, oh yeah, I want to say I'm doing the sexiest job in the 21st century, which actually motivated me to also learn, right? So a lot of organizations jumped at it and like, oh yeah, we want to, data science is the new thing. They started investing in data initiative, hiring a lot of data scientists and all of those things. Now, what do we observe happen? What we observe happen is the fact that occurred was that, yes, organizations invested so much in AI initiative, data scientists, employing a lot of data scientists, and they ended up discovering that they were not getting the return of investment, basically, or majority of the project that they probably started out failed at some point in time. So which is why researchers, thought leaders have to now retrace their step back and say, okay, fine, yes, the noise around AI or data science is very true. Data science is going to help organizations achieve a lot of things, all of those amazing stuff they've been talking about, prediction, making forecasts about what's going to happen, and all of those things. But they are very, very important. They are true. They would happen. However, similarly to an individual, because before you can say you are self-actualized or you are fulfilled as an individual, you need to have some of your basic needs. You can't say you are fulfilled as an individual and you don't have clothing, and you can't say and you don't have shelter, you don't have all of those things. So the same thing also applies to AI hierarchy of needs or data hierarchy of needs. That says that before any organization can start out any data initiative, before they can start out what we call advanced analytics, data science, machine learning, and all of those things, then some things has to be in place first, which is how does data flow from one point to another? Where are you storing your data? What are the data issues that you currently have? Because if you don't solve those issues, then there's nothing like advanced analytics. There's nothing like machine learning. There's nothing like deep learning, because the project, whatever data initiative you want to do, is already dead on arrival. It's already failure on arrival. And that's why you observe in Nigeria data ecosystem, many data scientists were recruited into many organizations, and on getting into the organization, you discover that you actually don't even have data to even model. And garbage in, garbage out. If there's no data for you to model, then you don't even have any prediction to make. So which is why a lot of data scientists or data analysts have to wear multiple caps. You have to now start being the one preparing data for yourself, making data available, and probably even start solving those issues that ought to have been resolved before they hired you. And which is why many believe that many data scientists, including myself, were hired at the wrong time. You were hired at the wrong time because the company wasn't ready for data science initiative. You're just brought in and you end up doing something different. And that's basically what the hierarchy of needs is saying. That means before advanced analytics take place, all of this infrastructure, all of this data process, data collection has to be in place. Now let's now go back before the cloud era that we have now, that was launched in 2012, all thanks to Amazon that drove that. Now before that, before organization can set up their data infrastructure, as we all know that yes, before an organization can say, I want to become data-driven, I want to become insight-driven, data infrastructure has to be in place, data collection has to be in place, data governance and all of those things has to be in place before you start saying you want to enjoy advanced analytics, predictive analytics, as the case may be, or even AI and deep learning solution. But however, before the era of the cloud infrastructure that we have now, setting up a data infrastructure is actually very, very expensive, and you also require what is called a lot of technical capability and technical resource, right? Because we don't have access to what we have now. And what were organizations exploring at that point? You now have what is called a paradigm shift that brought about what we currently have now. Now, in that era, that was prior to the cloud infrastructure, there was no access to computing resource. There was no access to processing power. There was no access to large storage capacity at the cheap rate that we have now. So that means organizations have to leverage on what they have to be able to process data, right? And that's why they leverage on this paradigm shift called the ETL, which means they say, before you go ahead and load a particular data to a particular data storage, ensure that the data you are loading is what you need, because you know you are trying to maximize space. Storage is not available, readily available, and it's expensive. You have to buy a lot of servers to do those things. So which is why they go through this paradigm shift of ETL. So that means get all the data sources that you have across board, transform it in a particular staging layer. Then once you are done, you know that these are all the data that you need for your downstream user. When I say downstream user, these are the data that your data analysts need, your stakeholders need for your reporting, whoever need that data. You know, these are just the data that they need. And that's just the only data you would load into the database or data warehouse, as the case may be, depending on the maturity of the organization. Now, this actually served us well then, right? It served them well then. There's actually a bit of bottleneck for this paradigm. Now, what's that bottleneck? The bottleneck about this paradigm is that before you start out a data infrastructure work, you have to ensure that you get what is called business requirement across board. So that means you have to, first of all, plan and scope out all the different needs of different departments so that you can be able to build that into your transforming or your staging layer before you load the data. Now, however, what happened in future, some needs can come in where some new requests can come in that you didn't factor in at the early stage when you are building infrastructure. And that becomes very difficult. That means you have to now start a lot of things afresh again, start looking for how to update your data schema, and all of those things, which can be a lot of bottleneck, right? Trust me. And that's why the old paradigm of ETL require a bit of lot of technical capabilities, right? Because you need a bit of, you need those that are technically inclined to manage and maintain that infrastructure, and it's also very difficult to scale, like I said. As your data need grows, which you didn't factor initially, you have to now start finding a way to update that. And those are the challenges that arose then based on what they had access to. But now all thanks to the cloud infrastructure. The cloud infrastructure now makes things easily accessible. Storage cost is very, very infinitesimal and very cheap. An example is Google BigQuery. Google BigQuery, you can save storage is about, I think for 10 terabytes of data, it goes for $0.2, which is very, very cheap. So that means organization may not even spend up to, a startup may not even spend up to say $20 or even $10 on just storage. So it gives them a bit of plethora of resources to be able to use. And the same thing also, there's now access to computing power. So they can process petabytes of data, large amount of data without even worrying about how to do stuff. And what happened as a result of that initiative that was launched into the cloud infrastructure, the likes of Redshift that launched in 2012, you now have your BigQuery, you have your Snowflake, you have your Databricks, and so on and so forth, and a lot of them that is also emerging. And what does that now bring us? That now shifts the paradigm to what we had before, that was ETL. Someone asked a question. Hello?
I have to meet the person.
All right, thank you. So now, what we now have as a result of the cloud infrastructure, and that is what the modern data stack is built on. So the modern data stack is built on the cloud infrastructure, leveraging on the capabilities that come with the cloud. Capability of processing power, the capability of computing resource, and even storage. So now, we don't have to now worry about what our worries were in the past. Only load the data that you need into database or data warehouse. Whereas when a new need arises, we have to start thinking through how to update the schema, and which can be very, very stressful. But now the ETL paradigm now shifts as a result of the resource that we have available, which is now called the ELT paradigm. How does the ELT paradigm says? It says that just gather all the data sources that you have across board anywhere. Data from your database, data from Facebook, data from Google Analytics, whatever the data source that your organization is using, even your operational database, maybe MySQL or SQL Server. Gather all the data from all the data sources and load everything down into your data warehouse already. You don't need to bother about whether you need it or you don't need it. Now, because you know that storage is readily available. So if you have petabyte of data in your data warehouse, even though out of 100% of your data, maybe it's only 3% or 5% that you need. But you know Someday in future, you will need other percentage of the data that you're not using. So storage is not your problem. So go ahead and load all the data that you have in your data warehouse. And now, right in your data warehouse, you can now start building data that you need for your downstream user, for your stakeholders, for your data analysts, for your data scientists to model. So which now means, let's assume in the initial stage of the project, when you were building your data, your infrastructure, you probably just model a table that contains maybe 10 columns and some metrics were tracked. A month later, stakeholders say, oh, we need this new metric, which that was not available before. You don't need to bother yourself because your data is already right in your data warehouse. All you just need to do is go and connect to that same source, which is still right in the data warehouse or your database, and you update whatever thing you need to update. In less than a few minutes, you have the updated or the updated data or updated metrics that need to be tracked. And that's just the beauty of what the ELT paradigm actually shaped, what it basically gives you. So it means, and the interesting thing about it is, a lot of overhead that we have, a lot of overhead challenge that we have with ETL pipeline, ETL paradigm, where you require a bit of technical capabilities, difficult to maintain, because now you don't have that in the ELT paradigm because it's built on the cloud infrastructure, because now you now have what is called serverless infrastructure where you don't even have to maintain it at all. Those cloud platforms maintain it for you. So all you just need is you just go ahead and do what you need to do and don't bother yourself about maintenance or bother yourself about managing any form of infrastructure because you don't necessarily have to bother yourself. So it makes it easily accessible. And that is what the modern data stack is built on. So the modern data stack is basically built on the fact that how do we equip the data professional to focus on just what they need without having to bother about other things they don't necessarily need that will just waste their time. So just focus on the important things. And that's why you now have a bit of different tools that are built together in pieces, rather, that can be integrated together to make your work seamless as a data professional. So that means back to the ELT. So that means your E, which is extracting data. How do I extract data from my data sources, wherever it is, and load it to my data warehouse? Now, before the era of the modern data stack, you have to write a lot of custom code. You have to write complicated queries to do all of those data migration for you. But now the modern data stack is solving that issue and say, data analysts, data scientists should not bother themselves about doing those things. Let them focus on what they need to do, which is analyzing their data when data is available, building machine learning model for a data scientist, and so on and so forth. And that's why you now have tools available to help you to do your data injection. So you have tools like your Vivetran, you have Airbyte, you have Stitch, and trust me, anybody can easily use this tool. It's UI, it's very, very easy to use. You can easily spin it up and set it up in less than 5 minutes. Like I literally mean, you can spin up a data pipeline in less than 5 minutes to load the data from, say, MySQL and load it to whatever destination you want to load it to. And that makes it seamless for whoever wants to use it. So you have this tool called the EL tool that basically ingests your data from whatever data sources they are to your data destination. And don't forget, I talked about now that the data is now in your data warehouse, you now have different data warehouse based on the choice of the organization. You have BigQuery, you have Redshift, you have Snowflake, there are a lot of them. So now that the data is in your data warehouse, talk about the EL, the T now is how do you now transform the data? Because we understand that data would always be messy. You always have data in different structure, JSON, whatever it is. So how do you now make the data ready for use for downstream user like data analysts, data scientists, and even stakeholder who will need their reports in Excel? How do you make the data ready for use, even though the data that you've loaded in your database or data warehouse is so messy? And that's where DBT comes in. And that's why it seems as though DBT sits in a position in the modern data stack that is very, very critical, because even before the DBT, we know that from some of us that have been doing data analytics, we often know that it will tell you that 60% or 70% of the work of a data scientist or a data analyst lie in data preparation. So we all know that data preparation is very, very critical. Now imagine a tool that now makes that data preparation very easy for you. That means there's a tool that solves like 60% of your challenge. So you can now have time to focus on other things. And that's basically what DBT is doing. And that's why it seems as though DBT is revolutionizing a whole lot of things in the data ecosystem. And that's why new tools that I imagine want to integrate with DBT, because it really, really abstract a whole lot of things. And that's just what the modern data stack is. So in the modern data stack is basically different tools that basically solve the ELT paradigm. A tool that would extract and load data, a tool that will transform your data right in the data warehouse, and definitely talk about your visualization tool, which is your Power BI, your Tableau, whatever tool you want to use for your downstream user, those that need to track your report. Now, having established that, the advancement in the cloud infrastructure, which led to what we now call the modern data stack, that basically solve the problem of having to spin up data infrastructure very easy. So all of these tools are very easy to use. So organization can now spin up a data infrastructure in less than 3 days, as against what would take 6 months or 3 months in the past that will even require a lot of team. So that means if you give me access to any of these tools, if I have context on the business, I can literally spin up a data infrastructure right from scratch in less than 2 weeks. Unless if the data models, which I'll talk about later, is maybe too complicated. But I'm saying a simplistic data infrastructure can be spin up in less than a week, because all of these tools are ready to use, unlike what you have in the past. And that's what the modern data stack is doing. And the interesting thing is, as a result of the need, because organizations are now seeing that, yes, now that we can easily spin up data infrastructure, we now need people that would know how to harness and manage that ecosystem. And that's why you now have a new role that is emerging called the analytics engineer. Even though, yeah, the role is still a bit blurry, because what we've seen in global space is you either see organization where a data analyst will upskill to take up that position, or you already have an organization that have a data engineer who would probably just add those two to their existing tool. And you have few organizations that would distinctly separate them. So they will now employ a new analytics engineer. So there is a lot of learning, a lot of role definition that is happening even in global space, right? But now it's now analytics engineer. So see analytics engineer as someone that owns this whole ecosystem. So someone that's able to do the work of a data engineer in little. So because you will be able to build a data pipeline that will move data from one form to another, you'll be able to manage and control the data that people in the downstream user have access to. So that means if a data scientist wants to build a model, say recommendation system, you as an analytics engineer, based on understanding of the business, you are able to know that, oh, these are the kind of data I think this guy would need from different sources. Then you're able to get that data from whatever source it is, transform it in the data warehouse, then export the transformed data to the data scientist to build data model. So that means the data scientists don't have to start bothering about doing all the necessary data cleaning that you do. Say, oh, you want to remove missing information, you want to remove duplicate. All of those things will have been treated by you as the analytics engineer, and all thanks to DBT that is making that very easy. So analytics engineering is more or less like a finesse, like I said, it's more or less like a finesse of a data engineer. Now, a data engineer is someone that would be more involved in the upstream side of things. When I say upstream side of things, a lot of data engineers that I've seen, they don't really care about what you want to do with the data. They don't really care about what's happening downstream, whether you're analyzing a particular table. They don't care. What they just do is they want to manage infrastructure. That's like their forte. That's what they love. They want to sit in the terrain of the infrastructure, manage infrastructure, provision space, manage permission, and all of those things. That's what they want to do. But now you have an analytics engineer who, like a finesse, I call it a finesse of data engineer, who sits more at the interface between a data engineer and a data analyst. So you say an analytics engineer who is more involved in the data, because they want to understand everybody that will be consuming this data, what do they need it for? And you are able to now think through and come up with how the data that you will make available would actually serve everybody. So the analytics engineer is more business heavy, because you want to understand every side of the data, every side of the business, because you'll be the one that will be provisioning data for whoever will need the data. Even though you may not be so heavy on the infrastructure side of things, because if you have a data engineer, you probably will just be doing mild data pipeline, because there are probably some requests the data engineer will not have time for, and you don't want to stress him or her to do some things that you can easily do on your own. So analytics engineer is basically empowering the data analyst to do some data work that a data engineer would often do, so you can easily own the data stack yourself without having to disturb the data engineer. And trust me, the role is currently in high demand. And I can tell you currently, I think I saw Zach. Zach is someone I really respect on LinkedIn, the team lead in MBNB. I was surprised when he posted it on LinkedIn like last week, that the current job that is in hot demand, like currently in the global space, is analytics engineering. I can't count how many recruiters have reached out to me that, oh, yeah, they're looking for an analytics engineer, all of those things. So if you are a data analyst who is already in the data space, right, and you want to upskill yourself to expose yourself to global opportunities, I can tell you this is a tool you can leverage on. Because the interesting thing is, there are still very little people that understand that ecosystem. So a lot of people, organizations are still looking out for people that know this stuff. And that's why if you're able to catch up with the trend now, trust me, you actually position yourself to opportunity. So now does DBT now come to the rescue? Like I said, I'm sure DBT now come to the rescue to help you say, okay, fine. How do we manage everything we've been doing? Yes, we talk about raw data that you have that is coming from different data sources. You want to load it into your data warehouse, and you want to make the data ready for use. But now there's something DBT now does that make it interesting. DBT now empower data analysts or whoever is using DBT to treat your data as a code. Now, before now, I don't think data analysts, I don't think I've ever treated data the way I treat as a code now. So that means you can adopt any software engineering principles like version controlling, CI/CD, testing, documentation. You can easily do everything as a go, leveraging on DBT, and everything is embedded in SQL. So that means it's not like you have to learn anything different. I guess that's actually one of the things that make it easy for people to adopt it, because it's built on SQL, because SQL is like the lingua franca of the modern data stack. But actually, most of the tools that you will see, actually they are built on SQL. So DBT just gives you the ability such that at every point in time, I can understand where I was, what I was doing, because there's version controlling. Let's assume I was introduced into a new project. I can easily check what is called data lineage, and I'll be able to understand, oh, these are all the data sources that have been used to build this model. And these are everything, this data source is dependent on this model is dependent on this. And give me a little bit of understanding without even asking questions. At a go, I'm able to understand how all the data that I have in my data infrastructure, how they connect to each other, how they are being utilized in the upstream layer, and all of those things. So DBT kind of just make it a bit very easy for you to treat your data like a code. So you are able to just adopt any software engineering principles, basically, that you can think of. DBT give you that abstraction to do everything, and right there you are leveraging your SQL that you know. So if you are able to write SQL well, trust me, you can easily pick up DBT as a tool. So I would, and I think my time is really fast spent. So I have to rush through this, but in case anyone have any question, just feel free to chip in or raise your hand. Thank you once again for having me.
All right, thanks, Okwe. Let's give Okwe a round of applause. I'm already clapping. You know, should I show you guys how to clap? You can just go to the reaction, reaction icon of Microsoft Teams and just the clap icon. So thank you very much for that. Very interesting. Where is Scholar raising his hand? I said you should clap. I didn't say she is. Very good.
Don't mind me, Jay.
Yeah, we also have Kola Wole on this call at Andela. So it's going to be taking the last part of this webinar, the last session as well. So I'm very excited to have everyone was there to talk about DBT and transformations for the stack. Yeah. Is it trying to say something because of me?
No, I don't have anything to say.
We are going to take in question from the session. So at this point, I would just like to kind of introduce us to some technical stuff and just a walk around and how it actually works. So we're going to be using like DBT CLI for this session. So we have DBT Cloud but then for the purpose of this session, DBT CLI, which students can probably install on our local PC and try something out, which is very exciting and very exciting. So without wasting much of our time, I would like to share my screen. Would you guys like to see my screen? Okay, go on to share the screen.
So I'm going.
All right.
Okay, Joe.
All right. So before now, I hope most of us would have probably get install the CLI on their local. So if you haven't done that, I think you should just try to do that. You can check on this. You can check on this website. I think I have something copied to my keyboard. See if I can post it here. You can check on this website to check the work around. I think I just dropped something in the chat. For the purpose of this session, I would advise you should not maybe do the installation now if you have not done before. So probably just go through and record that for this session. So always go back to record the installation so you can try this stuff out together. So let me proceed. So I'm going to share my what's it called? My Visual Studio very soon, but before then, the show, after the installation, you can just do to confirm everything has worked fine. We should be able to. Can you see my screen? I don't know whether you can see my screen.
I can see your screen.
Yes, yes, you can see your screen.
Okay, please. So you just give me a minute, please.
No. No, it's only simple. Was it to make?
All right, so okay, let me go back to my CLI on my command prompt. So by the time you're done with installation, you can just type ppt. You'll be able to see what you are, the version of activity, and corresponding adapter. So if you want to, this is 1.70 installed, and have this corresponding adapter. If you are doing installation like recently, you have 1.0.4, which is the latest version, and probably the latest SQL Server adapter for SQL Server. It's an adapter. Postgre adapter comes by default, so if you have that by default. So the workaround is you just install one of the adapter, maybe every other issue. Yeah. Okay. And what's going to be the next thing? Next is to stop just initialize the code. The opposite is objects. So you can just create some. I don't know whether you can from the you have it.
Hi, can you hear me?
See, I can't hear you. You're breaking. I don't know if it's on my hand alone.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I
This is
can't hear
Colin.
you either.
Emmanuel.
I think his network is because it's frozen from this end.
Okay.
Now it's better. Yeah. And
Okay. Do we still have Okbe here? Not sure. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. So I'm wondering if we still have Okbe here, but I think it's not. All right. Thanks, Okbe. Thanks everyone also for joining. Okay, so the approach Emmanuel wanted to take there is a bit different from mine. So I'll just hold on for him to
hello?
join the call.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Okay, good. Yeah, welcome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. So let me just go by to share my screen. Just add it later. So I was in my Visual Studio. So I said the first thing is to initialize the project. So you run the DBT init, which is trying to initialize the project, and the name of the project, which is I'm calling that DBT getting started, right? I believe it should be Siemens, right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, we are. Yeah.
All right.
But I think it would be nice for you to go back to your CMD where you initialize your code dots code, so we would know how you got to this stage.
But then let me connect. I can hear you very clearly. Kola, can you say that again? What you say?
Yeah, I was saying if you could go back to your CMD and then reinitialize your VS code.
Okay, so you can just open the VS. I have this VS code opened already. So if you want
Okay.
to, yeah, you want to open VS code, then type and you click on enter, it goes to your Visual Studio. You have Visual Studio, fine. You can run it from your CMD and work with your CMD.
Yeah.
Just with Visual Studio. So going back to Visual Studio Code, let's just try to initialize our project. So I'm going to run this command. All right, relative activity. So you look at my Visual Studio Code. This guy changed to DBT. Okay, that's switched to DBT. By the time the DBT finished running, it's switched out to DBT. So it's telling me which database would like to use. I have Postgres and SQL what's it called? SQL adapter. So you can type one for Postgres, type two for SQL. Just don't type one. Then it's done. So you can see it has went back to PowerShell. So that's exited DBT. So we can just go into. So if you check your folder here, you should be able to find that name of that project is DBT getting started. Let me just close down. This one is my projects. So this is it. As you can see here, DBT getting started. So it's that's initialized it, and you will see some corresponding folders underneath here. We have analysis folder, data, macros, models, snapshots, test, etc. So interesting, right? Interesting. So that's the first thing, initialize the project. Now I want to start working, doing some interesting thing with DBT. So you're going to switch your directory to the directory you created, projects, which is DBT style. So I'm going to see the, so let me play this thing. DBT. Right. So I'm in the project. So the first thing you want to do is kind of set your sources. So we're going to talk about sources. So the institution is that you have some role about development and production environment, and development for testing and doing testing. See how the model actually works. So you want to run on production. So you can write the code and you just run production. Production has a lot of data, so you don't want to finally at the end just say that this is not doing what I wanted to do. So it's usually show up development. So on the development you're testing and stuff. So okay, this is what I want, this is what I do before you run your production. So where do you configure your sources? So there's going to be a root folder for your a profile.yaml file, which is going to be on the DBT root folder. So we scroll up, when we find a root folder called the DBT, you have the profiles.yaml file here. So if I click on it, you see all of these guys here. So by default, you should get a template on how to configure. Yes. So if you look at here, I already created a template for my project. We're getting started, blah, 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 blah. Right? Type Postgres, this is development, production, just set it, right? By default, your target is going to be there, so you can change to prod if you want to run things on the code, right? So you do your settings here. There's a way you can kind of do some thing on how to configure your source here. You can bring your parameters as Greek environment variable and just reference them here. I'm going to go to that. You can fix check out to fix that. So the thing here, I'm going to set what we call threads. I'll talk about threads. Thread is before I talk about threads, I'll talk about threads later. So I can put this allows you to run concurrent models up to 2 if they are not dependent on each other. So that's what it means. We're going to talk about models from there. So host, what's the host? Specify the host. So it's going to look at host, specify the server name or probably the IP. The ports for Postgres, default port is 524. You have the particular port set for your company, you have to put that. So user, I have a user which is just Postgres user. I have the password, which I created as just this particular password. The DB name, I'm going to be using Postgres DB, Postgres DB, and the schema is also the schema is my public schema. So my third is also like the same database, but it's always good if you have your the database where your development site should be different from the production. Should be distinctive. So I'm going to set this one to be uh, proposed. But in case of this illustration, I'm just setting the same thing. Username still Postgres. At that point in time, you can't hear me, so I set something to be the DB name. The schema is called. But let me try to put a new. Let me go to Postgres to put a new database. I have a database already. Someone's. I want to use a new schema, a new database. I'm using Postgres as dev, so I want to probably use this as function.
Sorry, Emmanuel. Can you mute every other person trying to?
Yeah, I'm telling someone to do that for me. So I'm going to be using ability as my production. So schema is the public. So I'll change that from that case now. I'll change this one to ability. Okay, I want to save this. So after configuring your source, right? I hope we're together. The next thing you want to do is probably test your test your source. Is it okay? So how do you do that? You can use DB source. So it's already knows how to find it based on your project. You are under DB getting started, so it just goes to the profile, check it out, and it runs the test on it. So I'm going to run it to the blog, and let's see if everything is fine. You will know, from the result of the class. Okay. Uh, not dev, right? So because target is dev, right? We just did for dev. Let me do target probably prod. Let me do target to prod. Let me see the word again. Let's see. You can see. Let's pass. Production. So we say, okay, all the projects pass. So this is fine. So I want to change this target there. That's I think okay. So I'm just going to close my screen again. Just want to talk about this. About what I'm written to I mean,
Sorry, your audio is
right.
bad again.
There is a liar. Is it better now? Right. I have my picture at me. So, right. This I will just use this sample tip, right? Select statement. So this guy has information about your customer orders.
Wala. Is your screen moving? Because me, I can't see anything.
I see my picture.
I'm seeing your VS code.
Exactly.
Or is it just me?
It's not just
It's
you.
not
I
just
can't hear
you.
him.
I
I
was
can't see
even
anything
thinking it was
moving.
just me because my internet has even been messing up. I didn't know it was not from my end.
Nothing is moving and I can't hear your voice too.
Oh, okay, let me share my screen. I can see that the face is moving. Okay. Oh, can you hear me? Can you hear me, right? All right. So I'm sharing now. I'm going to share. Let me put up my feed to you. Copy. Please. Okay, how about now? How about now? Can you hear me? What did you say?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, fantastic. Let me try to share my screen again. Sorry, this is the country and that's it. I don't know why. I've been frustrating with this thing. Uh, this screen is not coming up. Let's see. Let me try it. Wait, can you see my screen? Let me confirm whether you can see my screen. Can you confirm?
No, no.
There shouldn't be a problem with this squishy. I don't understand. It's not the difference. It's not I can assure you. Because let me use the browser to join instead of this. Maybe. Let me try that. Okay, I'm using the web now. I hope it's going to catch it. I actually love using the what's it called? The app. You can hear me, right? Okay, let me try to share my screen again. Let's see. This should be. I hope it should. I think you can see my screen now. Okay, fantastic. Fantastic. All right. So, should we see my Postgres? Soon. Soon. Yeah, fantastic. So, this is the data. You know, this is like an orders data, etc., etc. You might want to get some insights from this. So, business just asks you, uh, what's the sales? What's the sales generated from Lagos? What's the daily sales generated from different locations, you know, in terms of volume, in terms of value. So you want to see that, you know, on a daily basis, and you want to probably see another one on a monthly basis or sometimes quarterly, or maybe you want to do year, quarter, you know, month, in that order. So you want to do this, something like this. Okay, since you set up your source, you know, you can go up to your Visual Studio. Um, okay, I think it's fine now. So since you set up your source, which you have already tested as working, okay, fantastic. Uh, by default, after setting up your model, initializing your project, under your model, so this is my project that is, you know, I initialized to getting started. Under models, you have a sample model called example. So it's your model is an SQL file. So you have write your SQL blah 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 there. So this is an example model. So that comes by default with your what's it called, to your project. So my first DPT model is like the first thing in the lineage. So first of all, it's a particular order. It's you that understand the process. So in terms of what I want to do for the company, you know, for the business, first of all, the first step can be, okay, I want to select all the data or select some specific uh, column from the source. You know, you have the source to connect to your raw source. Select something from it, right? And from there, you know, you now do some have an intermediate model that does maybe naming of columns or conversion of data type. And you can have a final model that, you know, now pulls what is needed for the business. So it's formed like a lineage, and that is what DBT helps us to do by using the ref function. You can reference a particular lineage, and it's very very beautiful. And you can create subfolders in your models. You can create folders in your model to say, okay, this is the folder where you can find business metric for finance. This is one for sales. And this is one for HR, and etc. etc. So to even see if everything is working fine. This is a model, example model, my first DBT. And what's this model doing? Now, the first thing you're seeing here is the config. Now, by default, if you didn't say this config, what DBT does, your model, if you run it, it's going to materialize it as a view, right? It's going to materialize as a view. By setting this config, it does as a table. Now, you can set this config, you can set this thing at your DBT project YAML file. So a DBT project YAML file comes with your project also. So for example, if I go to this place, if you look at, you scroll down here to this place, models, very specified models. So DBT get it started, you have the example model, you know, this file. You can do at folder level. So at folder level for this example model, materialize what view, right? You can set it up here. But then the fact that at the model level itself, which is your .sql file, anything is specialized, anything is specified there, is going to override anything specified here. So even though you're specifying view here, since I've come to this model, I put it here that this is a table. It's going to use a table instead of a view. But then let us go into that. So I think you get the gist. So what this guy does is a sample, right? This one is selecting one as ID, union all with what select null as ID. So what you're going to have is like a single product. I think majority of us here that have like an understanding of SQL, right? This is going to form like a single column called ID, having two rows, right? One and one null, right? This is a city, right? It should be very important that you also learn how to use city. It's not necessary, but it's important for you to do. It's going to be quite flexible for you probably. So this is going to like this is just like a placeholder holding this query, just like where you write some query, but this is a top-down approach. For nested queries, it's like bottom up. So you write the first layer at the bottom, and the second layer at the top, then it goes. But in this way, it's more readable. You understand the it's like a top-down approach. So first of all, you are doing this, and the next thing is that you want to select everything from this guy, right? Yeah, CTE, common table expression. Yeah, that's what it is. So it's going to select whatever you did here. So this operation is being held like a template holder in form of a, you can call it a view or something. Then you are selecting from it, which is going to return this result. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is my second DBT model, right? This is also an SQL script that you have created, your folder. And what is this guy doing? This guy is doing what? Select star from what? From this first model. That's what this guy is doing. Selecting everything from this first model using the ref function. So how do you do this? Put two curly braces, ref this. And what this is doing in essence is that it's saying select star from this source data. So because this guy is source data, so it's just whatever the output of this is selected from it. And it's saying there's a column called ID already right from there. So you can see from here you can relate what the lineage is like. So first of all, it means that this guy has to happen before this guy will happen. So like a step, or the first step and the second step, because this one is referencing this. So it means if this is referencing this, definitely that first guy must run before this guy can happen, right? So how do you run a model? Use dbt run. So dbt run, you know, dbt run. So if I do dbt run like this and enter, it will run all the models that you have in your project. So at now I just have only one model, which is the example model. So it runs this guy, then followed by this guy. So it's already understand the lineage by your reference. So so automatically it picks this guy and runs this guy. But if I want to be specific about the model I want to run, so you can just use this what's it called, this option -m, then specify the name of the model you want to run. So if you want to run like multiple models, you can specify them, separating them by comma, right? So yeah, I'll just really to run. So you see the approach. You see by default it's run this. It's not running. It's not going to run this just because I said my first and this one my second. It's because of the lineage between these two. So if I run this now, it's run. Let's see what's gonna do. I'm gonna see that now. It's gonna start very soon. Okay, interesting. So concurrency, two threads, right? Target is there because I specified that in the profile of the YAML file. So it starts what? Start stable model. The first model is my first DBT model. You can see here, public dot my first DBT model. That's the first thing I was supposed to run. It created the table, right? In this format. First public dot my first DBT model using the name of the model, right? You wrote that the model.sql file. So it's just the name of the model to create the table in your dev environment, because I selected the target as dev. You can see selected 2 in how many seconds? Less than 1 second, because it has 2 records, right? Then the second model is this guy, right? I didn't specify a config, so by automatically create a view. So by default, create a view. You can see view model public. The second DBT model has been created view in less than 1 second. So finished one table and one view model, right? So we have one table and one view model completed successfully. Passed to, everything passed. So total of 2 models, you have what? uh, pass through. So at first it tells you they found two models in your what's it called for test, etc. So which are the basic things you need to know for now. So if you want to confirm that this guy has not successfully, you can go to your dev environment, choose the PG admin. I will go to this one. This is the post. Yeah, this is the place. On that table, you have the first my first DPT model, which is this. So let's see what's there. Let me just call it from here. Let me just call it from here. So select star from public. That's my first DPT model. So if I kind of highlight this and run, you can see you have the column ID 1 and 0, right? The second one is a view. So I can just copy this, just which is selecting everything from this table where ID is equal to 1, right? So that should have one record. So that was my second DB2 model. Second. If I want this, it's just have only one record, which is this. You can see interesting stuff. So that's another example. So let's go into the real stuff. Let's go into the real stuff. So go back to Visual Studio. Let's create our own model, right? So I'm going to create a folder, right? So I'm going to create a folder, a new folder. Okay, I'm going to call it DBT getting started. You can see I'm putting it under the model folder. Getting started. Present on my folder. Oh, sorry, I went to create a file. So let me delete this. I'm supposed to create a folder. So new folder rather. So we got the DBT getting started. If you are kind of comfortable with using command line, you can just create how to create directory using command line. You can just do that. So this is my model, right? There's nothing inside yet, right? So I can create a file, it's .sql file that I used to create a model. So let me call it first DBT model. Then I put the extension .sql. That's it. So now back to that model. So the first thing is I want to pull what I need from my source, right? I can specify, this config, say materialize, right? Materialize as a table, right? First thing I want to materialize as a table. And what am I doing? Select. I don't necessarily have to use CT if what I want to write is kind of straightforward without any nested queries. So I can just write what I need. So I need the order list date from my what's it called source, right? I need what do I need again? I need total price. I need order location. Order location. What do I need again? I think I just need history. From public image. So that's the name of the table, right? This is just what I need. Right? That's good. I'll just save it. And probably if I just want to run this yet, to just run it, fine. I'll just do dbt run. Instead of doing dbt run, because if I do dbt run, it's going to run everything, which is 1, 2, 3, right? I'll just specify that I just want to run this one. So I think name of the model. The name of the model is first dbt model. Then put the .sql. That's fine. Enter. So let's see. If you don't have error, it's going to just work fine. All right. Completed with one error. So there's an issue somewhere. So I don't know whether you know what the issue is. The issue is that I didn't materialize this very well, so it's kind of tell you what's wrong. So this is supposed to be a
But I
complete.
think your schema for your table too, you write public instead of public.
Oh, that's true also. Thank you for public. There's supposed to be a conflict here. So we check. Let me check the sample that we have here. Okay, this one. Let me use this. So config. Sorry, I got that wrong. So let me go back to config. This is supposed to.
Abiodun, what does DBT mean by macro? This can be happening when calling a macro. I don't know if
We
you've talked about it. I know I had internet issues at some point.
we are going to talk about macro. Let's just take it at a time. So if you look at this, this is where it's supposed to be. Config materialized equals to table. We're going to talk about macro, right? So let's go into it. This should work now just fine. We're going to talk about jinjas and macro, but that's going to be like high level. We're not going to that. So it's done, created table model, public that first DBT model, selected what? 69,237 in less than 1 second. So we have 69,000 records selected as a table. So if you go to your PG admin, you should find these 3 columns, select them on this guide. So if I go to my public admin, I should just have what let me just refresh just the table. I should find my stuff there now. See, first DBT model, this is it. So let's run it and you see I'll just change this to first and let's see if you have those 3 columns. Yeah. So you can see other place dates, other location, and total price. Interesting. Now, since you have that, the next thing is that I want to do is kind of probably uh now do what the business requires of you, which is maybe the volume, the value of orders, etc. etc. So I'll just create a new model that was going to do that for us. So create a new file under the model that I'm building. So let's call it second PT model dot HTML. Now, what's going to be here? Right. We want to do that as a let that exist as a view, right, for business. So that would be like select. We want it year, year, the quarter, the what's it called? Uh, etc. Month. So I think we have an extract function. All Postgres users here, right? We have an extract function in Postgres from right. Extract here from other this dates. Please correct me if I'm typing the right thing. Let's call this one as year. Also, I want to extract. Is it extract or date extract? Please. I want to extract this. I want to count. Count maybe total price. I usually use such function as volume and sum total price as value. Then from what? From I need by other location, right? I need to go by other location. So other location, from where? Then that's where the ref function comes in. Ref first BT model. So look at here. Look at your example here. See where BT model. Okay, that's I did the other way around. It's supposed to be ref here. And put it here like this. You can just put a space to make it look finer. So this one will just reference what you have here, which is what you have already extracted from the source already, because you have all of these columns, right? if your code is, if you don't have like syntax error or you're calling the wrong thing, then you should throw an error and tell you how to fix it. So this one is quarter, this one is month. So let me call this quarter. Activity groups, facility groups. Those where users, if I'm writing, please let me know. So it means I'm doing an aggregation. I have to do a group by, right? So group by, I have to group by all the columns that are now aggregated. All the yeah, that are now aggregated. This, comma, this, right? Yeah, this, comma, this. Then group by this again. Then other applications, right? So save. Fantastic. So in this case, I want to run these two in that particular order. I can run it multiple times. Now, the thing is that if you run it, so you don't think that maybe the way it works is it's select and insert, doesn't insert. So it's kind of just run, do a run. So if I do dbt run, first dbt model, then comma, second dbt model. So like this, right? Let me try to twist it the other way around, right? Instead of putting first, I put second first, right? Let's try that. So I'll change this to first, so that to put the conception of probably because I'm putting first dbt model and maybe just it's one this first. But let's see how would that work out. So let's do second dbt model for my first dbt model and run it. So let's do this. Enter. If you don't have any, so you can see. So there's something that you can see. What did they do? Table model, public first dbt model. Even though I specified second dbt model here and first here, it's understand that he has to run this before running this one. So it does not specify. It does not matter the particular order that you write it. So please understand it from the image. We have an issue somewhere here. So extract function. So it means you are missing something here. Okay, let's check it out. Even though you guys don't want to help, I will help myself. No. Okay, does it have to? Okay, let's confirm. I think it has to be in quotes. Let's check. Let's do extract. Let's see here from. It's so let's try that. Let's try that out. I think it's still an issue with that.
I don't think it's a quote.
It's,
Doesn't it work without the quote? It's meant to be without the quote.
okay, we did without the quote. It's not working. He's complaining about this comma. I think it's something here.
Are you sure the other date is okay? No, usually it's the interval before the column name.
Yeah, it's going to come before the column.
Yeah.
Let's check it out. I've just did it before, but I can't just remember the order. Jesus. You can see my screen, right? So extract here. From okay, from blah blah blah. Okay, it's a from there. Okay, let's check it out. Let's see from this. Let's see this. Let me try to run this again. Okay, interesting. So that works fine. So let's go back to just put from everything should work fine after doing this. But something is fishy about this quarter. Let me check it out. So that let me check it out. The quarter. I think it should work. I'll just see before sure. Let's just check it out. Okay, fine. So I think it's working. So from this quarter, from this is from this. Okay, interesting. Let's try to run again. Enter. Let's run. Error. So where's the error from? I said near here. Is there something we're missing? Oh, this. Okay. I think it doesn't accept me to use this guy like this. Let me put it in quotes. Double quotes. Let me put it in double quotes too. Okay, so I think it should work now. I need a comma here too. Yeah, there's supposed to be a comma here. I'm missing that. Okay, let me put this in quotes so that it won't flag me. In next case, you have to put it in. I think I need a square bracket. All right. Let's see.
The quarter,
See.
the quarter in quote.
Yeah, I think that one's fine. So it's run completed successfully. The first model, then the second model, blah blah blah. Interesting. So let's quickly check. I have to be very fast. So let's see our second DBT model. That will be just second. Not right. Let's check it out. Okay, interesting. So you can see by year, by quarter, by month, the sales, in the regions, right? Interesting stuff. So the business has the data they needed, already have it. So that's interesting. So that's that about models. You can easily write your simple SQL queries and just reference from what you've written before. That's like a lineage. So from there, someone can easily track how the data went from the source to the final table with your ref. So okay, this is reference feasibility model. So it means that this one has to run. If this one has one reference also, you can go back to now understand the lineage. If you're using DBT CLI, DBT Cloud rather, you can generate a lineage graph, then which will make a lot of sense to you understanding that. So another thing we have to talk about is DBT test. DBT tests are DBT test. So if you look at this, let me use this scenario for instance. This is my first DBT model. This example. If you look at this YAML file, in this place they specify the model, some description about the model that you're doing, whatever it is, and specify that in the YAML file. Then specify columns that you're working with in the model. Okay, you can do some description about the model. This is a form of the documentation also. Then if you want to do some tests on that column, specify tests. Then what kind of tests? You have 4 generic tests in DBT: unique, not null, accepted values, and there's one other one. You can remind me. Relationships. Yeah, thank you for that. Relationship. So this is testing whether this ID, probably if you have a primary key in your table, the primary key should be unique and not null, right? So you can test if that that column still satisfy that condition. So you can put this. We can have singular tests. We have what we call singular tests. So you can write like a SQL code that do some particular test. So that one can be something like, okay, I'll take that question. So that one can be something like, okay, I want to test whether if a particular payment, if a particular payment is less or equals to zero, and that doesn't make sense. We are making payments. Why should we be making something? The value shouldn't be less or equals to zero. Then you can try to test to a singular test to do that. So I think someone's hand is raised. I can't see that, but someone just confirmed here. So what's the question?
Oh yes. Yeah, Bjorn, so I just wanted to confirm this documentation is more for the analytics engineer, right? Like so if you have other people in the team and all that, this helps with that, right? But
Yeah,
is there any other documentation maybe for like the business user themselves? Can this feed into that in any way?
actually, actually, so that can fit into singular test. The business can try to tell you that, okay, they want to this, okay, based on on the final table or whatever model you're trying to test. You can say, okay, if you write this, give us this metric. Things should be like this and things should not be like this. So in that case, you can write a singular test. So from the source to the final model, okay, maybe it's testing the final model particularly. You can say, okay, maybe this particular column shouldn't have this set of values, or the value shouldn't exceed this set of values. So that the business gives you that idea that, okay, something shouldn't be like this. So you can write a single test to solve those uh, questions, to answer those questions. However, the documentation, I don't do the documentation there based on the information that is given to you. And the essence of this is that, okay, but tomorrow you can just leave the company and some might, get and start running with what you have created before. So with that, someone can easily understand what your model is doing. The person is going to see the lineage and understand that this is good. So before this from this goes from this to this to this to that. But documentation helps the person to understand some particular columns, what they do, a particular model, what it's doing, by this thing. So DBT already understand that this are documentation. So DBT say I can do even you can do it from here. DBT docs generates the documentation based on what you have implemented in the project, and from there you can have like a HTML file to that you can interact with and build like a data dictionary or documentation file. All right.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay. So okay. So let's go to DBT test. Let's quickly run a test. I'll just use this example. So based on this example, the first DBT model should see the column ID should be unique and not null. However, this column ID should only satisfy this guy, right? It will not satisfy this. It is unique in essence is that it has two records, one and null. One and null, they are unique now. They are different from each other. But is it not null? Yes. No, it's not null because we have a null value. So it should fail that particular test. But the second one, the same test unique and not null. So this one should pass these two because in the second DBT model, you only have one record, which is one, which is definitely unique and not null. So it should pass 3 out of these 4 records. If I run DBT test, it will test all of these 4 tests. So let's do that. I'll just type DBT test. Let's see. It should pass 3 out of 4 based on this particular test. So it's only 4 tests. So you can see pass 3, error 1. So total is 4, pass 3. If we check not null, my first DBT model, it passes that because it's not, sorry, what am I saying? Not null, my first DBT model. So if you look at not null, my first DBT model fails, right? Because it contains null value. Another one is unique, my second DBT model definitely
is unique. Your second DBT model is unique. Unique. My second DBT model is also unique. I think there's another one now. There's another one. Not no. My second DBT model. The second DBT model is not no because they only contain one value, which is one. So you have 3 pass and 1 field, which is the first DBT model that is specifying not no, which actually has no value. If I go to my first DBT model, you see what I'm talking about, because it's union 1 together with the no value. So definitely it's going to pass. It's going to fail the not null for the first DBT model. You can see here, not null, my first DBT model fail for the column ID. So on the go, you can run your pipeline test the pipeline for some checks. So as I said earlier, we have some four generic tests: unique, not null, what's it called? Accepted values and relationships. So accepted values, like, okay, for instance, you have a table that has what we call account type. So maybe it can either be savings or current. So if you see any other thing except for those values, then it's going to flag it. Guy, I'm seeing another thing from what is specified as values to be accepted. Then relationships checks if there's a relationship between a particular column in your particular model and another model. So you can check out the documentation with that. And let me check this setting on my list. I think okay. I'll just high level talk about Ginger and macros. What's Ginger? What's macro? Ginger and macro. So let's see Ginger as a template Pythonic language. The template Pythonic language. It's this is Python in Python. It's Pythonic. I can put it that way. So think about something like you want to do, like everything you want to write, even though everything in activity is SQL based, like majority of what you're doing is SQL, right? Can you let me see the question? So, but then some things you have to. So some things you have to do.
Oh, okay. Good evening, Moses. Yes.
Okay, thank you for that. So some things you have to do. Yeah, you might not be able to write normal SQL language, no matter how complex it is. You might not be able to achieve it. Then that's where Ginger comes in. Ginger, you can write Ginger to make your SQL dynamic in such a way that it's going to do some interesting thing for you. But Marco is just like you might write some Ginger codes repetitively in different models. So you can write a Ginger code that kind of checks that look through a table to check for a particular thing, or that kind of pivots the table, or that kind of aggregates or do some particular thing, right? It's just like you write a for loop to do something, but then macro kind of embed it in form of a function that can be reusable. No functions in Python or any normal language can be usable. Call it, and it does the same thing. So you don't have to write. So if you have written a code, a program that pivots a table, right? It takes in it helps you to pivot the table. So instead of repeating that sort of a program to solve a particular problem, it just create as a macro, and we use it in several models to solve that same problem. And that's what changes and macros are about, which makes it DBT more flexible, even more flexible to work with. So you are not really stuck with just SQL, having to use SQL to do everything. Then you can use Ginger to make your life even more flexible. So, for instance, let's say let me use a demonstration for Ginger now. I have an instance. I have a basic Ginger command. So I'll just express it to like what Ginger can do. I have it here. I think I have it inside here. Let me see. So Ginger look at this. This is the template of it. This just looks like, I think you can see my screen. So you put it inside curly brace followed by a percentage. So you understand what like the changer array. So what I'm saying is set my var to be equals to hello world, select my var, blah, blah, blah. But then this will not, you want to embed it in as an SQL. So it's going to be, this is like you're referencing a variable. Here, you're setting a variable to be a string called hello, right? So in here, I'm going to, if you right select my var, the way it's going to see it is going to see it as something like this. So this is how the result is going to look like. Select hello, comma, world. This is how it's going to look like. Now, in this case, writing a normal SQL statement like this, it won't run, right? It does not make sense, right? So it means that for you to do what you want to do, you want to do like a print hello world in SQL, just like you want to come to Postgres and say select. This is exactly what you want to do. Say select hello world, right? You can run this and it gives you something like this. Hello world, right? So for you to implement that here, so I'll just have to put this guy in quotes so that it will now look like this. Select hello world. Then I can now say, okay, as greetings, right? Interesting stuff. So it's you are setting my var to be a string. It can take in, let's say it as if you're writing Python. You can take it a list, dictionary, set, tuple, whatever it is. So you can take something like that. So if I run this, let's try to save this and run. And you're gonna see what it's gonna look like. So this is under another project, which is dbt underscore demo 2. So I'm going to switch to that. Let me play my, I'll be running up in the next 10 minutes. So let me switch to the current directory and switch to dbt underscore demo 2. All right, so I said dbt run. I want the jinja example. So I just want to run the jinja demo. Jinja demo. Enter. So let's see that. All right. Oh, I didn't change the table start production. Let me see. Maybe it's demo 2. It means I've done something. It's demo 2. Oh, I changed it to fraud. Okay, no problem. Target. This is an SQL server, right? So I have to switch to SQL server. My local is under test db3. So I'll just go to, I think I have SQL server opened already. So it's under db3. So this is an SSMS. I'll refresh. I refresh the tables. I think it should be views because I didn't specify the materiality of that. So I don't know. My just confirm. So you can see hello world. Hello world. So interesting. Do you guys see my screen? Hello. Hello.
Yes, I can see your screen.
All right.
Yeah.
So you can see hello world. Interesting stuff, right? So I will do restriction. I'm not trying to show you this. So let's go back to our payment screen, our main project that we're working with. So switch to parent directory. and DBT. Sorry, DBT. Getting started. All right, so let's go to DBT getting started. So this is here. So I'm going to create a new model for and so to do a more complex ginger stuff. So then we call it ginger pivots. Ginger pivots. Example. Let's go. So for instance, this is our source, right? This is our source. Our source for this particular DBT getting started, right? The first DBT model is speaking only three. Is speaking only three this thing, right? Only three columns, right? But I want to write on this source. I want to write on this source, right? I can write on this source. So if you look at the table, it has. So let me go to this is the first DBT. This is the source. First DBT model. If you look at the table, it has three columns, right? Order, place, date, location, and total price. And the location that we have there, we have like three unique locations, right? Rivers, Lagos, and Kadu. Rivers, Lagos, and Kadu. Okay, let's say we want to now create like a pivot to have year and month. Then the pivot for Rivers, Lagos, and Kadu, their corresponding value. I want to reshape this guy, right? In terms of pivot table. So I can write something like this. I can go ahead to write something like this. From this model, okay, like select let's say, okay, let me just come here. So I will soon round up. So select. I don't want it to do like this now. Why you behaving this way? Select select year. I need the year, right? I need year. Let me call this year. Imagine I want to do something like this. I need month. I'll change to something month, right? And I need to now aggregate it, for each of the locations. Now do something like case when, order location, is equals to Lagos. I want to just get the value, right? Then total price else 0 and it's 0, supposed to be 0 as Lagos value, then comma. I want to go for the three states. Imagine you have 36 states. I want to pivot for. I want to write this guy like this. Right? From I have to replace this guy 36 times. Imagine that you want to do pivot for on a daily basis for it's a year. That means you have to do 365, write 365 case statements like manually, right? That would be a dumb thing to do, right? I think I can maybe do something like that. So I have to do by this and do by this, do by this, right? And this will be reverse, right? Reverse. This will be cargo. Then call this reverse value and call this cargo value. So let's run it and see what we have here. Okay, there's an error here. Other location, what is the same? Other question must appear in a group by. No. Okay, sorry. I want to sum. Sorry, sum. I have to sum this. So sorry. To sum it. I'm aggregating it. To sum this, it have to be here. Better. Right. It's looking like I'm writing complex SQL, so it's not complex. So I believe it's not complex. So what again? What again? And okay, I didn't end this one in brackets. Sorry about that. Okay, next one again. What again? What again? What again? Other place state does not exist. Other place. Maybe I have to put it in quotes. Sometimes this guy might be very funny. Before I put everything in quotes, so let me see if it doesn't like this one. I know that I'll just put everything other thing in quotes. Near Alex, near Alex. Okay, sorry, I didn't highlight everything. Let's see. Okay, maybe because I didn't highlight everything. Okay, so you can see, right? Let's stuff, right? You can see I'll be able to to look like something like this. So imagine you have a lot of states, 30 states. Then you have to it's kind of be very stressful. You have to type this man. So let's take this guy to Ginger. To 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 build some Ginger. Let's give some Ginger. Let me come to Ginger for example. So I'm going to put this here. So the first thing I want to do is don't start Ginger. I have to put this on my right. So I want to create a list. List of values to be just like you create a list in Python, right? Because mirrors yeah, values in that guy. So for let me call it my state. My state. So states states. I don't know the way it's expressing it as but states in my state. What do I wanted to do? I wanted to sum is when allocation is what? I'll just reference the state here using the what's it called? The reference, right? And put states here, right? Just put states here. And I've put it in quotes, right? I've put it in quotes this way. Yes. And to make it dynamic, so I don't have to put Lagos value here since this one is already referencing this. So I'll just put like this and put states and put states here. So it's just concatenate state, which is, let's say for example, Lagos underscore value. So like that. So I can just remove all of these ones. But with this, how is it going to look like? With this, I have to end the for loop, right? I have to end the for loop. So I'll just put it like this and for. Like the way it's like works in SQL when you write it for, you have like an end statement and like that. But it's just much better. But then if I should want this is the way it's going to look like. It's going to do some case when location, which is Lagos, then total price else 0 and Lagos underscore value, and it goes to the next line, right? Then do the same thing but change state what rivers. But then the way it's supposed to work is that there's supposed to be a comma, right? There's supposed to be a comma after this, right? So how do you try and kind of bring that comma into the picture? Then I'll kind of put this intuition. So if you go to the docs under the jinja, you will find some kind of documentation around this. I use if not last, if not look at last. So what I'm saying in essence is that let me end the if here. To end if, because I'm using like Python indentation. So if not look at last, put a comma. What is is that if it's not last iteration, always put a comma. By the time you get to the last iteration, it does not put the comma, because if the comma, there's going to be something like this. There's going to be something like this. It's going to put a comma after the last group again, right? And it's going to, SQL will not understand, because if there's a comma before this form, then it's going to drop an error. So that's what we're trying to avoid there. So go back to Visual Studio. So if it's not the last loop, don't put this comma. So if the first loop, you put the comma, the second, when it gets to the last, it does not do this. So if not, put a comma. So then if I'm going to save this, and am I missing anything? Okay. I won't put this because though I can actually put this, right? But we don't want to put this because we want to use the ref function. So ref what first PPT model, so that it will reference this guy, right? So I'm going to save this, so you don't have to be static. So you know that I'm calling from this guy. So I think everything looks okay. Am I missing anything? Okay, I don't think so. So let's run. So dbt run. I want to run this particular model, which is jinja pivot example. If you don't have any issue, everything should work fine. Oh, something is wrong. This is not supposed to be a double place. I just figured out. It's supposed to be a single place. This thing supposed to be a single place. Sorry. Okay. I think that's that. Let's run it again. Okay. All right, completed successfully. Interesting. So let's go to Postgres, right? So because we are under the ticket we started, and our source is Postgres. So we go to Postgres. If I refresh this guy, you should see the resulting table of the model here. So let's refresh. This is it. Where is it? Where is it? Okay, under view, you didn't materialize that table, so it will be under views, right? Okay, this is it here. No, this is not it. This is the first one. So that one is ginger pivot something. So this is ginger pivot example. So let's put it out with a select statement, and let's run it. Interesting, bravo. So you can see we have your result here. Very interesting stuff. So you can see Lagos and value, Lagos and value. Very interesting stuff. So you kind of make it dynamic and interesting. So I know I have a set time. So talking about macros is just to kind of compile it and makes it like a function that is reusable. So you can package it and reuse it inside your separate model. So having said this, I think I will just
leave room for my final presenter to talk about documentation and deployment of Unity model. And that will be a wrap. I hope we've been enjoying the session up to now. Yeah, so let me just give room for my boss. Sorry for taking my time. All right, let's see. So
Oh, okay. I was expecting that we would just end it there and um, probably continue next time. But let me just go through just one of what we have because I think the agreed time was 4 to 6, and this is past 6 already. Yeah, so
tell me.
yeah,
I
so
think
we'll go through one part of documentation. I think you covered some of that in your presentation with the testing and all. But then let me see if I can share my screen. Okay. So there is one important part that I think we haven't discussed about, which is seed in DBT. Yeah, so it works very fine with your CSV file. You can easily call up your CSV file, update them, and use them in your model rather than loading a table or something. Let's say you want to join up. You have a list of countries or some code, some area code you want to join up with your DBT model to spring up some computation for you. You could easily add up the CSV file. So you run that with DBT seed. Let me see. I'm trying to share my screen. Okay, share desktop. Okay. Share. Okay, good. Can we see my screen? Can we see my screen? Yep.
Yes,
Yeah,
our
yeah.
screen is open.
Okay, good. Thanks. So these are the seed file here. So you could easily create one. Let's say, okay, we want to create a new seed file here. Let's say for we that are present here, we could say participants dot CSV here. Then you have that. Then you have a let's say a serial number, name. I think we're fine with that. So I'll say serial number 1, ability, number 2, Joshua, number 2 Joshua, number 3. I'm just gonna work with number 3. Tokbe. So let's just leave it at that, and then I can. Okay, let's add one more column. Let's say gender, and I can have male, female. I know Joshua is female, so and then not that I want to confuse anyone. Male. All right. I can then save this and come to my come here. I'm in my branch already. I'm in my master branch. So I'll just do DBT seed select. I want to run just that part. Participants. Yeah, so that is it. If I go into my into my data warehouse database here, I can easily see that here participants here, and then I can do um where is the select here? Okay, view. So there I have the data there. So it's very useful, very resourceful for you. If by the time you start using DBT, you find this very helpful a lot. Um, so that's that for. Um, was I sharing my screen? I sure I am, right?
Yes, you will.
Okay,
Yes.
good.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So that's that for DBT seed, and then you can. I mean, I think there was a plan about sharing this file yesterday, and I think we did that. Okay, so for those that want to start and try to do some examples on themselves. So with this, you won't have to install DBT on your local machine. What you have to do is just have your instance running, which in my case is a Postgres, and then the settings. I mean, for your DB for profile. Now, if you use a MacBook, you just comment this out and then comment this part, which is for Windows. That's for Postgres now. And then these credentials here are for your database, which you've created um, in your Postgres here. Now that's that for that. So we can just go into um, documentation, right? Okay. So for documentation, it all happens here in your YAML file in the models you've created. So, and then the documentation, what they deal with is what you have here in your descriptions here. So for in this case, I have two models which I um I built. Okay, this was some kind of model we worked on, and then this is the other one. So you could create different other models um, from your from the data you have, right, or from your data warehouse. So what your documentation fits on is this description which you have here, and in some cases you can have some other things too, but for the basic you need this description. So after you've done that, after you've added your description to it, and this is the normal, I mean, this is the method to doing that. Then this is your model name, and then you describe the model. And then if you want to list out all the columns and describe the columns also, you have them here. But in this case, I only did about just two of the columns I have in here to describe them. And then for this also, um, did a bit of the column, describe them here also. So then the next thing would be that you go to your. So I would say it's much more easy for me. I've been working with CLI mostly, and I think for most organization, right, they would also want to work with the CLI, except in some cases where okay, some would want to work with the DBT cloud. Even in deploying your models, in most cases, it would either be deployed on what do you call it now, Airflow. I think we have some other ones also. I can't recall now, but majorly Airflow for your to deploy your project. But for now, we can go with deploying this. So if you are sure from what ability showed us earlier on about testing your model, and you know, okay, everything is fine to go, then the next thing would be, and then you've done all this description part also, then you can then run dbt docs generates. So when you run this, so it generates the doc in your as a JSON file that's in your target catalog here. So you have it here, that there, and then the next thing would be to run. But in this case now, my own won't run it because I have not created a. I mean, it will run it, but you won't be able to view the results because I have not created a DBT Cloud account in this case. So the next thing to view this, to view um, the the to view the how do you call it now? I think we call it what is it called again? I can't recall. But like a GUI for the model steps and all. You do dbt docs save. So this would open in a browser for you. But in my case, I can't have it because number one, I don't have DBT installed on my local machine. This is a Docker image I'm working from. And then I don't have a DBT Cloud account set up. But if you have it in your case, what you have to do is just um, click on this, and then it redirects you to the yeah. So I can't have it set up here. But basically, basically that is how it is done for the documentation part of it. I mean, the most basic part of it, right, for us. Yeah, and also I can't go on with the deployment also. Yeah, because that either needs a DBT Cloud account um, or you have that set up in other infrastructure that are needed to deploy your model. So I would end this here and then see if we can have some other time work to work around that. If there are other questions, I think we are open for questions now. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for that. So as regards questions, so as regards deployment, so you can just check out if you have DBT Cloud, or if you are new, you can sign up on DBT. They give you like free access for like I think 30 days or something to access DBT Cloud. So you have free the fundamental course, you can go through it. They talk about deployment at the end. You can see how to schedule the job to run on the cloud and all of those things. So it's quite basic. So you can check out their website and sign up for the cloud free trial for 30 days. So uh, so this time we're just going to leave like 10 minutes for questions. So if you have questions, please. I think what's it called? Someone has his hand is James. James, you can proceed with your question, please.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, my question is when Kolaole was talking about seeds and he was typing out CSV, isn't there a way to point to a CSV file instead of, do you have to manually create a CSV file like that, or you can just reference a CSV file in your directory?
Okay, so the way I've been working with it is usually to enter your CSV. Either you have your CSV because your CSV location, I think it can change. And then, though I want to believe there are ways where you can directly point to your CSV on your local machine or whatever it is. But the way I've been using it is to update the CSV manually, right? But I think there are ways we could actually find it, research more about that.
Okay.
Okay, so I was having internet issues when he was talking about the seats. Probably I would have had more thing to say about that, but then I was having
issues. So I think we can get to look more about that and check out what seeds on maybe YouTube or their documentation or some of their free courses online.
Okay, so another thing I would say about, sorry, Emmanuel, to cut you short. So you
All
know
right.
where, because we are working on CLI and then it's on your local machine. So what you can do then is copy wherever just move your CSV file into that directory where you have your seed file. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and just show you what that looks like. So for this project which I am working on here, I have the, okay, yeah. So this is the this is the directory, right? I'm working from, and then of course, yes, if it's a Git repo, then you'll have clone your repo into this location where you have it also. Then what you can do then is this is data. So we have the data folder is for the CSV files. Then you can easily just paste it here, drop it here, and then um, come to your CLI here, and then do the DBT seed to update that in your for your model to use that in the development phase of it. However, one thing that would be a concern is updating that record automatically, right? Because it's in your own local from your own local repository, so you might know there might be issues with updating that um automatically, like dynamically for you. So therefore, but the essence of the seed is just to manage some minor data that are not very that don't change more often. So let's say, okay, we are it's a small startup, a small organization, and then we have staff names we want to update. Like, okay, that doesn't change like every second, every minute. At least it takes about a time, some time for you to get updated. So that is the essence of that seed, and then you can then go to your seed file. Let's say we have new member now. Then you can easily add new member here. Um, New member. Let me put my name here, and then I say, okay, Kola is a new member here, and then I put mail, and then that's also. It's not like it's changing very rapidly like that. That's the essence of the seed. But if you need more for data that are changing more rapidly, then there are other means of getting those done, and that's done, not the seed. The seed wouldn't be appropriate for that. Even in the DBT documentation itself, they made it clear there that it's not for data that's change very often, right? I hope that answered the question.
Hello, James, are you there?
Yes. I got it clearly. Thank you. But
All right.
also, I have one more comment. If I'm
Okay,
allowed.
please proceed.
When again, when Kola was talking about generate, that's to view docs if you are working on CLI locally. I think there's a way. I think I might not be right too, but I think you have to forward, since you are working on a Docker image or a container rather. I think you have to forward a port to your own local system so that you can now view the docs from on local host. I think there's a way around. I'm not too
Yeah, I
sure.
haven't explored. That.
Okay.
If there is a way at all, I haven't explored it.
All right. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the comments. So I think there's always at the point where you map the port of your, what's it called, of your Docker image to the port of your Docker. But about that, I really do not know. But then, do you have any question from people in the call before we round up? Okay, I'm going to take that as no question. Or if you have comments or contributions for random comments. Oh, well, yeah, you saying something because you're muted. I think you were trying to say something. Oh, Ezekiel. I don't understand. Ezekiel. Okay. I think I will take that as no questions, no comments, no contribution. All right. I think that's been an amazing session. We love us to kind of give presenters a round of applause. You've done a very good job to make this happen. I hope we make use of this tool to our best and explore it and probably even implement it in our public organization. It's very good to implement in the ALT era where we are now. So thank you all for joining. We're going to stop the recording and probably share with everyone that registered on the form shared, or I'll even share my status probably. People can get it from there. All right, so that will be all for this session. Thank you all for joining. Thank you, Kolawole, for making this happen also. Thank you, Akpemi Fabi. I don't know whether he's still on the call. That will be all for today's session. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.